Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. As long as people exist, his theories seem to never end. You've heard that many people claim to live in a simulated world. Even Elon Musk defends this view. But do we really all actually live in the Matrix? In this video we will look at interesting theories made by people who state that we live in a simulation. You can also write your own views on this subject in the comments section. First of all, the idea that the world we live in is actually a simulation goes back a long time. Modern science still allows us to arrive at questionable findings on this question. Today's technology does not yet allow us to create virtual environments as realistic as the world we assume to be real. Still, there are virtual augmented and mixed reality technologies that are constantly evolving. Undoubtedly, it is necessary to take a closer look at the Matrix universe, the most ambitious example of this idea in the cinema. It is basically about a world where machines take humans captive. The starting point is artificial intelligence, which is now starting to think with the advanced technology of people. At the beginning of the story, which is not shown in the movies, a man-made AI-powered robot kills its owner. This murder is human robots. It causes them to decide to destroy. Then what? Robots build their own autonomous regions as they begin to think. It's only been a few months since Google's artificial intelligence system called Duplex showed us how software can deceive people. It is not impossible for robots to become conscious, to act depending on a main artificial intelligence. In fact, similar views lie on the basis of simulation theories. Time can bend. According to Einstein's twin paradox, one of the twin brothers is put into a rocket that moves backwards in time at a speed close to the speed of light and is sent into space. According to the time inside the rocket, 1 year passes. And the rocket returns. It is seen that while the brother in the rocket has aged, the brother remaining in the world has reached the age of 80. The theory was that neither brother would have been aware of the different timings. And there would be no health problems. But when one was about to die, the other would be just beginning to live. If we had an objective reality, such a situation would be impossible. Indeed, time slows down for substances put in accelerators. In the 1970s, scientists put atomic clocks on spacecraft and flew them around the world. And as a result, they proved that atomic clocks move more slowly than clocks synchronized with Earth time. It will be virtual in the time that a virtual reality has. Those who play computer games know. The game slows down when the computer's processor is heavily loaded. Time starts to flow slower. Just like this, time in our world can slow down depending on speed and other massive masses. There can only be one explanation for this. The reality we live in, according to this virtual theory, it can be explained that the virtual time of the sibling sent into space in the rocket changes and therefore aged much less than his sibling on Earth. Team Pro take Universe Theory. In the year 2000, Prince University researchers wondered what preceded the Big Bang, the most popular theory of the beginning of the universe. According to the rafts they revealed, the universe did not actually come from nothing. Although it was thought to be constantly expanding, it was a place that went through phases of contraction and expansion in the long run. According to this view, the universe we live in will be neither the first nor the last. More recent research has provided evidence to support the idea. The theory of white holes, which is the opposite of black holes. According to this theory, if there are black holes, there must be white holes that function in the opposite way. How do black holes suck in the objects around them? White holes absorb nothing if they absorb all the light. They are constantly shining. Although there is no evidence of white holes yet, in a study conducted in 2011, it was said that the first white hole was the Big Bang. In fact, gamma bursts that still continue in different corners of the universe were also described as smaller white holes. If you are aware, black holes still do not exist, while they have a counterpart in the opposite direction to almost everything. It considers that the universe that is assumed to live in white holes in simulation theories is a simulation. The theory that the universe is a hologram. We have come to the theory that best fits the simulation views. This theory, which explains that everything we see and experience is actually an illusion, explains that the three-dimensional reality around us is encoded on a two-dimensional surface that we have never seen. In other words, it is said that we live directly in a computer program. Southampton University researchers have found traces of cosmic radiation thought to have remained even before the Big Bang. According to the researchers, the findings support the theory. Antimatter. The term antimatter is the name given to the oppositely charged particles of electrons, protons and neutrons that make up an atom. In our universe, negative electrons hold their orbits to positive atomic nuclei. In the universe of antimatter, positive electrons keep negative atomic nuclei in their orbits. But the same laws of physics apply to both universes. At least it seems so. A matter and antimatter cancel each other out. If matter comes into being as a result of processing some values, just like computer software, then it is possible to determine these values in an inverse ratio and thus create an opposite operation. From this point of view, antimatters, substances created as a result of the process, would be products that cannot be avoided. If time occurs as a result of the completion of the further processing cycles of the substances, this will be the reverse processing cycles for the antimatter. In short, antimatter reverses time. Matter has an opposite. Because the process that created it is reversible. And so it happens at the opposite time. Time, which is only the product of a virtual reality, can be reversed. And this is one of the indications that the world we live in is a virtual reality. Double slit experiment. 200 years ago, Thomas Young conducted an experiment, and her results still confuse physicists today. By shining a light on a panel with two slits, Thomas placed another panel behind it and studied the light falling on the back panel from the slits of the first panel. While the light was concentrated in the areas just behind the slits, it formed an interference image on the rest of the surface. A photon of a particle of light must necessarily be in waveform. The back panel should not have areas where the light is concentrated. But at the same time, light was collecting in certain regions, which can only be observed when it acts or behaves like a photoparticle. Does light behave as both a wave and a particle? In the following years, physicists tried to find an answer to this question. But they tried to send photons one by one to the other side through the slits on the first panel. When the first photon was sent, it behaved like a particle and landed on a predicted spot on the back panel. After being sent one by one with other photons, an interference pattern was formed on the back panel again. This experiment is completely time-independent. In other words, if a single photon dealer is sent every year, the same result will be obtained. A photon cannot know where the photon sent before it fell on the panel. Is not it? So how did this interference pattern come about? To understand this, a detector was placed between the panel with the slits on it and the panel behind. A photon cannot pass through two slits at the same time, one must choose. If the photon passed through the upper slit, the detector would make a sound. If the detector does not make a sound, the photon has passed through the slit below. After this mechanism, one of the laws of nature was discovered. If under observation, a physical photon behaves like a particle. It acts like a wave if nothing is watching it. Today, physicists call this mystery the wave-particle binary path. Quantum realism quantum theory can explain its intense experiment using imaginary waves that are predicted to pass through both slits, interact and converge at a certain point on the panel behind. There's nothing wrong with the theory, but if non-existent waves explain how existing waves behave, it's not a very satisfying finding. In quantum reality, a photomic program can produce many events on it can act as a wave. And then because a node is overloaded, it can regenerate itself on reboot. Just like a particle. Multiverse theory. The theory of the multiverse, similar to Einstein's spooky theory of action, covers more. According to the theory, there are many simultaneous universes, including the universe we live in. According to Stephen Hawking, it is impossible to prove this theory. If you have any questions about simulation theory, you can let us know in the comments section. What do you think of these theories? Which one do you think could be real? Let's meet in the comments.